Alrighty. I love the combination of the sort of gritty, sort of fleshly component and the high-minded sonnet thing, which is also really, really. It turns out it really was accessible. It was. So, how did you merge those things? Because that's a very specific format.
I guess I have a few thoughts about that. One is that I guess I could say I was obsessed with this guy, right, who I was seeing.
So it wasn't a pastiche of various people. It was one person.
Yeah,
Okay.
most of it. I would say probably 90% of the poems have a muse, right?
Okay.
And I wanted to show him that I loved him, so it felt like that was a logical thing to do, was to write a love song.
A love sonnet.
Yeah.
Right.
And the first one I wrote,
as we do,
didn't impress him.
Okay.
And then the second one he loved. He was really into it.
Okay. What was the time period between the first and the second?
Like a week.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So then I felt galvanized, right? Like,
got it.
Like, I want to write another one.
No one's ever written the African poem. Well.
But then we split.
And what year are we talking?
Actually, I know this because one of the poems is titled 12, 11, 16 or something
I meant to ask you about that date, right?
So that was in the early phase. Mm-hmm. But when we parted ways the first time, I just kept writing as a way to kind of deal with my feelings.
Cathartic.
Yeah.
You weren't going to send to him.
Oh, I sent those to him.
You're romantic.
Well,
obsessive.
some of them are not romantic.
Some of them were very bitter.
Yeah, but so he got a taste of that as well.
I would say they were angry. I understood that,
Yeah.
but they were sort of, well, I didn't know if that was there was a humor and an acceptance and even a fondness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think even in the ones that are the coldest or the least warm, you still get a sense of an affection for the person.
Right, correct. And I think you also I got a sense of him, which is very interesting, and more of a, but better yet, more of a sense of you. They would say like what I call it, the lover and the muse.
Yeah.
The love object doesn't it doesn't have to be particularly interesting. It's the person who's in love that gives all the spark to it.
For the reader, for the writer, it's the opposite.
Touché.
But me,
But I was the reader.
not so interested. The muse, very interested.
Oh, I see. And did he respond to those, that ongoing, the onslaught of,
I don't remember how he responded to the ones that were not positive, but I do remember at one point, a couple of points actually, where he would express a certain bafflement.
via text or whatever?
Or in person.
Oh, you should.
Because we reunited.
You said,
Yeah.
I was not going to do that again until I did, and then I didn't, and then I did, and then finally you
that's
didn't.
true, yeah.
Yeah, I got it. That's very more common than that.
But I remember him specifically saying, "I'm not a muse," and me responding, "It's not your choice."
That is true.
Right?
Lolita was a tacky.
Let's hope it's not that.
Stop that. But she always used the ultimate.
He was of legal age.
I swear the kid was a grown man.
He was.
No, of course he was. But Lolita, it wasn't that she was not of age. She was not. She was an odd, trashy, sad little chick. It wasn't about her. It was, but he was someone who, I guess, had some depth and some worth. Do you still feel that way about him now? I mean, it's cathartic to sort of like take your broken heart and turn it into art, and then.
Well, at the end, because I got approached by the publisher to write a book of sonnets, and I had written maybe.
Are you kidding? the publisher knew that you had these, or just said,
No, he had seen a couple of them,
Okay, got
a
it.
handful of them, and was like, "Oh, do you have enough to write a book?" And I said, "Yes." I didn't quite, but I knew I could finish the cycle,
Correct.
right? And then that last group, well, many of the poems in the last group, they're not in chronological order.
clearly,
But-
I love the numbers almost always make sense. They don't. I'll ask you about a few, but
But I, at the very end, I was very much into exploring, like, why did it fail for myself,
correct.
to kind of give myself some closure.
But that's part of the cycle too,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So at the end, because I had to go inside to kind of acknowledge like my own sort of failings in the story, as well as where he wasn't in some ways the fantasy that I had created in some of the other poems.
Right.
So it cooled the ardor for him substantially.
Feeling that from you, it's
Like even thinking about certain moments of being like, there was I'm trying to remember what poem it was. It's the one that I think it's sonnet 13.
That was
It's the
what-
one with the hyphens.
I was no. Oh, that wasn't it. I was going to ask you about 13 and 06801.
Okay.
But-
what's the one with the hyphens? On what? It's not 13.
I thought that was just 13, but I could be wrong. I just saw the.
I have the book.
As a matter of fact,
Well, I have a gallery.
let's use it. Let's use it as a like all the. I love how it wasn't sonnets 1 through 10. It was sonnets
Yeah.
all over the map, but all completely. And it was 06801. I gather it was a zip code. Yeah, it took me a while. 13. I recall thinking. I meant to ask you what the illusion was.
Where is that one?
Because I actually made a note about that.
Oh, there it is.
Not the 13th one, of course.
It's on page 12. That's too bad.
So close, but so far.
Yeah, that's the one with the hyphens.
Okay. Oh, okay. I'm so sorry.
So
All right. What was the what was,
this one, I remember, this was a specific moment where we had a fight. And I just remember at the end of this fight, he was sitting in the window looking outside. And it was that thing where you could feel the other person wasn't as invested in the... Like it was a much more upsetting conversation for me
Right.
and him, and he was...
what is
It was done. Do you know what I mean? Like that conversation was done, and he was just looking
There
outside.
there was nowhere to go with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had that with Barry. We didn't part.
Yeah.
You just said, oh Christ, I'm in this, and he's just done.
Yeah.
You know, and it was like I would have to cool down, but you were able to at least walk away.
Yeah. But I would say it's not like with Barry in terms of he was done with that conversation.
Right,
but
not
he wasn't not invested in you.
Right.
But
He may have been on the border, but yeah, I under. And now a word from Barry. No, no, that. But I've had it with other people too, where I was in a relationship that you just. I realized, wait a minute, this is going nowhere, and they're indifferent, and they're just sort of sadly, patiently waiting for me to be done so they can walk away. Got to be on. I'm sure you've been on the other side of that. I'm sure you've been that person. So
Seems likely.
yeah. Does he know about this book?
Oh yeah. No, I told him about
And
it.
he's on board. Obviously, he no idea. There's no one knows me, which is he's anonymous. A close friend
I
might
think
be
he
able
was
to.
just weird.
Huh. Interesting.
I mean, how would you feel?
Flattered as long as I was anonymous. I think.
Right?
No
Even
one's ever-
now, somebody wrote your book of sonnets now when you were...
I think I would
With
be.
Barry?
I would be. I would be very. I think I would be very pleased. But I think maybe my innate sense of privacy would think. I hope no one knows it's me.
Right.
But I would certainly love the fact of it.
Okay.
But I don't know because I mean, this is an incredible tribute. I guess to him, but ultimately just to the making the relationship flesh and making it something tangible. I absolutely loved it. But why 13 in that hyphenated one?
Well, it's an unlucky number.
I forgot about that. Right.
And there's 13 hyphens.
Okay.
And the hyphens, the idea there too was it's something that's broken. So I wanted to sort of play with the idea that
Yeah.
every
A
line,
disconnect.
yeah, even the final couplet, it's broken in that I think it's stare and star. So in a way they're a rhyme, but
this
they're
can't
not.
quite make it. Yeah, I got it. Oh, that's really fast. That's very enormously clever and moving and really, 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 really cool. And so, and I thought you seemed like you got some pleasure coming up with the names of the sonnets. They were all, making. I'm sure they were clearly in some kind of vague chronological order, I think. But they were not. But it wasn't 1, 2, 3, 4. It was whatever it happened to be. And
I actually had like a master list of ideas, right? So I was like, what are the things that could be numbers that are not just a number, like money, or like all the things like that are conceptual, like pi and gazillion.
that had a nice sitcom feel to it. It was.
So sometimes I would go to the list and just be like, is there something here that
the shoe fits here.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, so the publisher knew, the guy who, I guess he's an independent publisher of a certain genre, who knew that you wrote sonnets and wanted to see if you could. Wow. That's how is this a friend of yours or just someone who knew your work?
It's a guy I knew when I first moved to New York. He is a performance poet of note.
Wow.
He won the National Poetry Slam at one point, and he was on that show Def Poetry Jam.
I know it
a couple of times. His name's Reggie Cabico. And actually, the way that I got reconnected to him was I saw a poem of his online, maybe also a couple of years ago, and I hadn't talked to him in over 10 years, and I tracked him down just to say, this is such a beautiful poem. And then I was doing the movie marquee poems on the movie marquee, and I thought, he would be a
used
great...
in as your author photo, which I love.
Yeah,
Amazing.
So I used, but I reached out to him for that.
Okay.
And then when I did the flyers, the lost poems, because I thought his sensibility is very fun and accessible, so I asked him for that, and then he invited me down to DC to participate in a
reading.
Yeah, and then after he heard my stuff, he was like, what would you think if we did a book?
That's how it's done. I love how there's this sort of there's an artistic community.
Yeah.
Thank God, because I think, I'm so tired of people, sort of pricey, but there's a real actual one, and that's how you all find each other, which seems very old school, and I love it. And the musicality of it, the 33 RPM, 45. What do you think? How would you want to address that? I mean, they both, the shoe fit, but but the whole thing wasn't necessarily musical.
No. I was thinking about that on the subway line, of course. There are two thoughts. One was, how the sonnets are supposed to be written in iambic pentameter. Right? Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
Which has a musicality to it.
Right. And I didn't really think about that at all, because that's supposedly the natural cadence for English.
Is that what Shakespeare came up with?
Well, I don't know if he came up with it, but I think that's what they say, right?
Okay.
That English naturally falls into a iambic pentameter.
I don't doubt. Yeah, that sounds familiar from an English class of
right?
your. I think
and
so.
Thought if that's the case, I don't have to worry about it. All I have to do is be natural, right?
In the format of the square.
Yeah.
But yes, it will come from it'll be almost visceral because that's how. Okay.
Because that's how we speak. So as long as, my goal in my mind was that it's had this.
I love that. Thank you. Yes. Yes, please.
Okay. It had a conversational sound to it.
Right.
Then I would have been doing iambic pentameter because that's.
Right. Oh, it read. It sounds silly, but it read to me. I forgot that I was reading sonnets and it read like prose. It wasn't. I understood that. And by the end I would have. But it was a really, really good format.
The first two poems, I think, ride that rhythm hard.
And you'd established that. That was
just well. I knew that I wanted to open up with
Thank you.
Sonnet 8 because that was the first sonnet I ever wrote, and I also liked it because it's
Oh.
the title of the
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
the title of the book is Infinity Standing Up, which is an 8. Right?
It's odd standing
And then
up.
every act starts with a variation of the 8. So there's the 8, there's Sonnet 8 or Sonnet 8, there's Sonnet Infinity, there's Sonnet 1899.
Okay, so there,
and
yeah,
Sonnet-
yeah, and then, yeah.
So they're all 8s for the
Okay.
beginning of each act. So
I saw those, but I didn't make that connection.
So in the first poem, it's like I'd like to climb inside your mouth. Like it's
Right.
very much like that.
And that, right, and the others didn't actually. That could sort of stood alone as its own.
And the second one does the same with Sonnet 45, which is what's that one? But it's got that same sort of
But that whole devouring
the lyric
thing.
is something like yeah. Well, there's something
Right. And that was
yeah.
it was like a Beatle-esque. Sorry.
That's all right.
Like sure you knew that. Yeah. So that was yeah. That was
And then I
that
felt
was
like
clear.
but I wanted the reader to have that in their mind.
Right. And you established
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
But the
And
first
then
one
let
was
it go.
was just it was sort of like boom because it was the whole devouring image. It was very very specific, and you probably even had the organs and feet in the right place. And I thought.
Yeah, it goes down.
Yeah, right. It was all in line. Yeah, right. Exactly. The full digestive cycle, if you would.
Yeah.
So that was really cool, and the others were other things, but it was it was a good place to start. And then it's getting more and more comfortable, and then it's just some of them are wistful, some of them are angry.
The other thing I was thinking about on the subway though is, and it has to do with your question about like why the sonnet, is I think for myself, one of the things that I like about, I guess, is it classical poetry or traditional poetry, is the rhyme, and how the rhyme makes things memorable, and how
Like a jingle, but much better.
and harder.
Yeah,
right?
and yes, of course.
And that then it made me think about Bob Dylan in terms of like how he won the Nobel Prize for poetry,
Right.
and that songwriters are permitted rhyme in a way that most poets are not
Correct.
today, right? Like
Because they want that to be the thing to stick in their heads so that people will sing it
right?
and retain it.
Yes, and I liked that aspect of the sonnet.
Okay.
And what's weird though is that when you look at some of the poems have a longer line than the conventional iambic pentameter, which makes them the rhyme less obvious because they're so far apart.
Correct.
And then when
You get involved in the middle part of it. The rhyme is not the.
yes.
Yeah.
And then like with the Petrarchan, which is the ABBA structure.
Yes.
It has these couplets in the middle that are memorable, but the other rhymes are like so far apart that.
But they're there.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's on some level it's like they're not important in terms of the memorable part.
Right, I understand. But the fact that they're there and that they've been
Yeah,
consistent, and maybe if it had all been tightly woven rhymes, it would have. It would have.
been annoying.
Not going to happen.
So I thought the second one was harder than the Petrarchan.
It was more demanding of the hell. And aside from the first two, which I gather you did, they were all poems that you had to send over a period of time. Maybe not such a long period of time, but you had to add to it. You had to enhance it. So how long did those take? How long did the whole project take from being approached about it to fleshing it out?
The last group of poems were written in a period of like 3 months.
Wow, with the knowledge that they would become part of a book. So it wasn't like, okay, you have this deadline, you get this in, fire off a series of poems. You were able to do that with a little bit more air in between them.
At the end, I was
mean,
writing probably like a poem a week.
Okay.
And before that, it was more like
And you submitted it to the publisher as a done
Yeah.
transcript. Okay. I love this.
the only poem I didn't get to write that I wanted to write that was a number idea was also musical. I wanted to do one that was a radio station because
Yes.
that's another place we see numbers.
Yeah.
But I just couldn't.
But you did have a call. You did have a call letter one. didn't you? I mean, there was something that was WXDU, so there was something like that.
Well, I have letters. Do I have something like that? I can't remember.
I mean, I think that's the way I perceived it. There was something that read like call letters for a radio station.
I wonder what it was.
I know. I'll find it. Here it is.
Look.
And tell me, although I like you, tell me about infinity standing up. Just the idea of perpetuity. Let me see what that was. Did I make that up?
The original title was
Okay.
8 is just infinity standing up,
Right.
and then I just pared it down.
And 8 was and the significance of 8 was just the infinity, but
Yeah.
on its end.
Yeah.
Oh. I stand corrected.
And I liked to, like, in the beginning with the 8, because it's a play on the word 8 being like eat.
Oh, okay. Wow. Poets take a lot of stuff in. Yeah, and I'm gonna read these.
Like, if you look at the one that's called Sonnet 8 or Sonnet 8, right? That's
Yeah.
later. It's just the first poem rewritten as homonyms.
Oh, okay.
So it looks
I
like
didn't pick up by that.
nonsense words, but
Okay.
it's actually like a phonetic game.
Wow.
Well-
That took some doing. I didn't pick up on
Yeah, it
that.
was hard. That was tough.
So this relationship yielded this. Isn't that extraordinary?
It is pretty sweet.
It's amazing. The idea of taking pain and taking it into art is all.
Well, and pleasure.
Correct.
Right?
Right. Absolutely. But if you guys were together, yeah, I guess you'd still be. You might be firing
Right.
off. But you were firing off the poems.
Like Elizabeth Barrett Browning's sonnets from the Portuguese.
Right.
Well, she stayed married.
That's true.
She loved him.
Yeah, that's true.
And she wrote a whole book, and
And,
it's
we're still
beautiful.
talking about her today, right?
Right.
That's true. But most of the time, I dare say.
I'd rather write that book. Right?
It's been done. Maybe you improved upon it.
Yeah.
But this makes me very, very. And who's the person who did the forward? Because that was something that was very
Oh, that's an interesting story, actually.
endearing.
I loved the forward.
No, I
so-
did too. It was almost like. Thank you so much. It was almost like you were.
It was in the same spirit, right?
Right,
Like,
yes,
she's totally
yes.
connected.
Is it a dear friend of yours or someone who knows you
It's
well?
actually the first person who ever wrote about me as an artist when I lived in Portland.
Ah, that makes some sense.
Right?
Yep.
She wrote for the gay newspaper out there. And when Reggie asked me, who do you want to write the intro, she was the first person that popped into my head. And I hadn't seen her in, I don't know, about 15 years.
And you'd been in only the barest of
No.
no contact at all.
No.
I guess artists
So I
still
tracked
read
her
each other.
down. She lives in Providence, and she was game. But the thing that was really fun was, she was like, "Oh, do you want to come up for the weekend and hang out so we could talk about the book?" And I thought,
Did you want to fly cross country in order to do that, or she's
"Well,
here?
it's Providence."
Oh, she.
Rhode
Oh,
Island,
okay.
right?
I heard
So-
it as Portland. Okay.
Yeah. Well, that's where she
Portland.
wrote about me, but she moved east
Got
with
it,
her
got it.
wife. So I was leaving my apartment and to go to the train, and I was standing in the street, and I felt this compulsion to go back to my apartment, and I couldn't figure out why. And I'm a little OCD, but I knew that I had
See, there's
locked the
something I don't
door,
know.
turned off the water,
right.
turned off the gas, checked the bathroom.
Taking the
sink.
micrometer to the stove.
Yeah,
basically.
right?
I
Like
was-
I knew I had done all these
Right,
things,
right.
and I still felt like I was supposed to go back to my apartment, and I thought, okay. So I went back into my apartment, and I'm looking around,
I guess we can still chat.
and I thought, well, what can I do here, since I don't have anything I have to do here? And I thought, well, you can get a second book for your trip,
Ooh.
right? And I thought, well, what do you want to read? And I thought, ooh, I want to read How I Learned to Drive, the play by Paula Vogel. And
Four?
so I knew exactly where the book
We
was,
can get changed.
right?
Okay.
And got on the train and decided, forget my other book, I'm just going to read this How I Learned to Drive. And then when I got to the train station in Providence, my friend comes to pick me up and she says, "Oh, I'm really sorry. My wife Monica isn't here to meet us. She's working on the set for How I Learned to Drive right now."
Come on. I never know what to make of these things.
Well,
I mean,
to me,
it's so you can't question.
it
what
felt
are the
like
odds?
that's where I'm supposed to be right now, right?
Yes.
And then I picked the right person to write the intro.
Yes,
Like
but on every level, but it's just uncanny,
Yeah, it's
right? Crazy.
And then on the way home, the other book that I had brought with me was this book called Breath, Eyes, Memory, which I had had for at least 10 years. And
Something you take with you when you travel from time to time? Or?
no, it's
Okay.
a book that I just never read, and I felt like you should either read it or get it.
Oh, okay, got it.
Right? And it's a book by a Haitian-American novelist. But what I didn't know is the book is set in Haiti, Brooklyn, and Providence.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
I don't know what to say. That's
Right.
just uncanny.
yeah.
Like Dario always says, it's a coincidence. No.
So be it.
Right. I always make that point too. No matter what, who knows
Yeah.
what the significance
Yeah.
is, enjoy it.
Yeah.
But that's really weird. Okay, so there was just an inevitability to it.
Yeah, like I don't know if you saw the essay I wrote about the book.
Oh, at the end?
No,
Or was you
it was online.
Oh no.
I'll send it to you.
Oh, I have
But
to see that.
So I wrote this essay that was all about like how did I come to write this book. And,
Not your forward that wasn't too.
No,
forward.
this
I can't
is
wait to read
like
that.
talks about it more in terms of sonnets being like monologues. And it was written for a theater publication. But in that essay, I referenced Leda and the Swan, which is a
Yeah, another very dirty
sonnet,
poem. Great,
yeah,
great,
by Yeats,
great. Yeah.
Right. And I sent it to my friend, and who I'm doing this interview with about sonnets for another publication, and she was reading Leda and the Swan as she received that email,
Yes, please. Huh.
which is also like just
But that's
weird,
madness. I mean, Leda and the Swan is it? No, the whole thing's crazy.
right?
I love it.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's just people are like writers and artists.
Yeah.
They just operate on a vibe the rest of us don't. You know. And well, maybe we do. We just don't see it. But these are really, really
You
specific.
have that stuff happen to you, don't you?
It does
sometimes?
happen from time to
Yeah.
time, and I enormously enjoy it.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah,
it's
it's
the whole
fun.
thing. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
It's like this is like the whole small world thing.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it. It's a small world, but come on.
Yeah.
But I think it's just that you have the clarity and the vision to see it
Yeah.
and understand it. So.
When it's like you want to be connecting in that way, right? Like it's a much more interesting life when those sorts of serendipitous events are taking
I agree.
place.
Yes,
Right.
yes, I want to.
Yeah.
But I hadn't always, and I didn't always.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just called having my head in the band. You
Yeah,
know?
well, there's that too, right? Yeah.
No clue.
Yeah.
These things are very specific. I'm not that hippy dippy, but I love it. I think.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah, that was like a really
You can never question any of it. You know?
like literally when she said that to me when I got off the train, I just held out the book.
It's a drop jaw.
Yeah.
Even though, yes, I love it. It's great.
Let me tell you, as reunions go too, it sets the stage for a really nice time.
I think so.
You feel like,
Did you have any concerns dipping over there? Well, mine
Yeah.
always is.
Yeah.
What will I say to this person?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like taken
The
care of.
Yeah. Yes, it's an icebreaker.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
but it's cute. It's cute that you thought about that. That's really, I like that very, very much. It's like,
Yeah.
I always, even people I know, what will I talk to my friend of 50 years
Yeah.
about? Seriously?
Yeah. I mean, there's,
But it was already established.
That play Our Town,
Yeah.
because there's that great part where it has to do with they're getting married, and I think it's George maybe talking to his dad, and he's like, "But what will we talk about?"
Yep.
And he's like, "Well, there's always the weather."
And then guess what? It always finds a thing.
And it's
The
true.
weather.
And I remember when I was young and I read that, it was infuriating to me. Like it felt so trivial. Like that's all life has, talking about the weather. But that's not what he's saying.
No.
Right?
And I think it's just sort of like there's
What's the tip?
that's the tip, and that's for you.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
I did all the math.
Yeah.
Like there's a silly Tears for Fears song.